Hi, this is Suhailah, and this is Grow With Me by Suhailah, the podcast. And this is episode 6. And this is called Feel the Feeling, or Feeling the Feeling. Just feeling the feeling. You'll know what I mean when you get into it. But it's funny, for me, I think I mentioned this before. I record these, and then later, when it's time to post them, I go and create these intros like you're hearing now. But I listen back to it one last time. I usually don't listen to it again after I record it, but when I go do the intros, I listen again. And I have to say, this one did make me laugh. I laughed at myself, and I think that's an important note, right? We're talking about things that feel pretty serious, can feel pretty heavy when you talk about healing and emotional trauma, and a lot of the things that I address, spiritual journeys, they seem heady, they seem serious, and they're important. So in that way, they're serious, right? They're important to the times we live in. They're important for our own growth, the evolution of ourselves as individuals, and the evolution of our species as humans. It's really important to do this work, to heal ourselves, to get to know ourselves, to love ourselves, because that is what we're trying to do. We are loving ourselves back into unity, the unity within us, the wholeness within us, and then we can do that with each other and collectively, right? But even in the midst of all of that, it's important to laugh at yourself sometimes. So when I listened back to this episode, I couldn't help but laugh at myself because I know me so well. And it's funny to me, these things that I've been through, especially in hindsight. We can usually laugh in hindsight. And I enjoyed listening to this one again. So I hope you too. All right, let's get into it. I wanted to talk about this idea, or something that most of us have heard before. Whether we are on a healing journey, we don't know we're on a healing journey. You do know you're on a healing journey. You're just on some kind of journey where you are trying to get to know yourself better, to understand your emotions better, to understand why you feel how you feel, to understand why you react how you react to things, and just sort of get a handle on your life, right? And not be just flung about by every feeling you have, usually a lot of times triggered from things on the outside. So we've heard this phrase, healing is feeling. You've probably heard this before, or maybe you haven't. Healing is feeling. To heal is to feel, or the only way to it is through it, or things like this, right? And I wish I would have known that it is, and I say this with care, and I do not say this lightly, and I do not say this to minimize anything, but it is as simple as that. Healing is truly feeling, and I wish I knew that a long time ago. I am a spiritual person, so naturally, and that's a whole nother story that I've probably talked about somewhere in one of my newsletters, which is, my newsletter is called Spark by Suhailah. It's on Substack, Spark by Suhailah, under my name. I might have talked about it. I know I've talked about it in my newsletters. And if you know me, you've heard me talk about it. But I have been on a spiritual journey for a long time. And it happened naturally. I didn't know I was on a spiritual journey. I didn't know I was on a healing journey. I was just trying to get to the bottom of myself, trying to understand myself better. And just didn't want to have the same old patterns in relationships, with jobs. It was just redundant. It's like, okay, after a while, it's like, who's the common denominator? Me. So what's going on with me, right? So naturally, I was on a spiritual path, and I would do all the things just naturally. Journaling, because I like to write and I like to express myself. You know, I've seen healers. I've seen a number of therapists, traditional and non-traditional ways of addressing my emotions, getting to understand myself, all kinds of modalities, healing modalities and spiritual modalities, and everything under the sun. I've read countless books. I have hundreds of books, probably dozens at least. And I always thought that was healing. I'm chanting, I'm praying, I'm doing all the things, meditating. And then not that long ago, 2019, I had a spine issue. That's a whole nother podcast. Woke up one day and I was in the kind of pain that I didn't know existed. It was a whole ordeal. I couldn't move my right side. Well, it started with my left when I woke up, what I felt. But as the morning progressed, it was my right side. So there was a threat that I would never be able to use my right hand, my right arm. It was insanity. And I was terrified because I'm a writer, I'm a marketer. I write for real way before AI. So I'm a real writer. I enjoy writing with my actual hand, pencils and pens and markers, and then also typing is a big part of my work and just my life. So that was terrifying to me that I might not be able to write again. But whatever the case may be, I remember I put out a text to my family. I'm in trouble. I need help. I think it literally said that. I need help and I'm scared. Everyone started trying to help me. I remember my brother, he referred me to a sports doctor. Is that what they're called? Sports. Yeah, it wasn't a therapist. It wasn't a physical therapist. I think he was an actual doctor. He could have been a physical therapist as well, but I believe he was an MD. And then my partner at the time, my boyfriend, his friend sent an actual doctor to our house. Like, people were showing up for me. Like, what do you need? What do you need? How can we help? Everyone was trying to get to the bottom of this. My pain was so bad, I couldn't even take an MRI. I couldn't even do an MRI at first for them to figure out what was going on, because I couldn't even lay down on my back. And I was just in excruciating pain. So it was pretty much a nightmare. And when I ultimately was able to do an MRI, my boyfriend had to call him in the room to hold my feet, because I was trying to crawl out of that thing. I was in so much pain. So nothing was working. We couldn't get to the bottom of what it is. In the beginning, like I said, I couldn't even do an MRI for them to know what it was. And I was just in excruciating pain. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't carry anything. I couldn't lay on my side. I couldn't even sleep in the bed. I had to sleep on the floor. And I slept on the floor to the point where I got a bald spot in the back of my head. So, and this happened very quickly. When I say if it started in I think it was July, I think I finally got the MRI in mid-August or beginning of August. It was just horrible. But when nothing was working, a friend of mine, her name is Rita. She is my soul sister, and she used to be a coworker. We worked together, colleague. We worked together at an agency years ago, and we just become friends and sisters. And she's my spiritual partner in so many ways. And she said, I have a healer. I knew her healer. Her name was Kim. You've heard me talk about Kim before. Kim is actually going to be a guest on this podcast when I can get her. But I had a session with Kim in the past about something else that I wanted to address. But I never engaged her. And then this is a couple of years later, maybe a year later now, Rita is like, I'm going to gift you with a session with Kim, because maybe Kim can get to the bottom of it. And Kim, I can't wait to have her on. She's an energy psychologist. I've definitely talked about her on this podcast before. And I'm going to have her on so she can talk about what she does, because I feel like it's a good tool, even if people can't use her. But you can understand the different kinds of healing that I'm talking about when it comes to energy and things like that. But she reads energy, and that's a hard thing to explain. But she reads energy, and she does amazing things, and she connects it to different points in your life, or even your ancestral line, right? Your mother's line. So a lot of ancestral stuff, she can clear it. Don't ask me how she does it. It's another conversation. That's why I want her to come on so she can talk about it. But one of the things Kim said to me was that I need to feel the feeling that I wasn't healing. And I'm like, what? All indignant. Like, I get up every day. I meditate for years. I'm talking about all the spiritual things that I do. And Kim was pretty much like, what does that have to do with anything? That has nothing to do with healing. And I'm like, what do you mean? She says, you have to feel the feeling. And I'm like, I do feel the feeling, because I feel like I journal. I can talk about things. I can process things in my mind with people. I can read a book. I can do all the things, a exercise, a spiritual exercise, or a mental exercise, a meditation. I can do yoga. I can go clear my head with a jog. I'm thinking I'm doing all these things for all these years, but particularly I remember being like, I'm meditating and I'm doing all this spiritual work. She said, that has nothing to do with healing. And I was just shocked. And she said, I know how you are. So I have a big thing. I don't like to stay in my story. It's funny. A lot of people think they know everything about me, but most people don't know most things about me. There's not a single person that knows everything about me, although if you ask them, you think they would. But some people, when they're coming to know new things about me, it's like, just because I've never told you that before, right? I don't live in my story, but doesn't mean I haven't been working on it, or maybe even talking about it with someone else other than you. So I don't like to live in my story that way. There's a number of reasons. I saw my mother do that. I saw my mother for a very long time, to her death, still talk about my father in a way like they were just divorced yesterday. And it was my whole lifetime. At one point I said to my mother, you have been apart from him longer than you were ever with him. I'm a grown woman. She left when I was 4. So I was just like, I don't understand, so I have a hard time with people who stay stuck like that. And I think that I'm just not one who regurgitates my stories or my experiences for entertainment value, for humor. I can laugh at myself, especially now, because it's kind of funny, what I didn't know, the things I didn't know when I thought I knew so much. And even then, it's just funny sometimes. You got to be able to laugh at yourself and your journey. But I don't like to stay in my story. I'm likely to tell people stuff when it's over and I've already handled it, or when I have a solution, or if I really, 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 really don't know what to do, right? But I'm not likely to sit there and just gossip about my life or the hard things in my life just for the sake of it, just to talk shit or to have people co-sign and just be in misery with me. It's really not my way. So Kim picked that up about me, and she said, I know that you are not someone who wants to stay in your story. I'm paraphrasing. She was like, but you don't have to worry. It's not your personality. You're not going to, because I think there was some fear. She picked up some fear in me, that feeling the feeling meant to me that I had to live in it and sit in it. I can't explain it now, but I understood what she meant when she was saying it to me. And I'm just like, she said, so you don't even have to name it. She said that to me. You don't have to name it. And I said, well, what do you mean? She said, you can just say, there's pain here. You don't have to say, I am sad. I am wounded. I am angry. If that's hard for you, if you don't want to, because I really believe that whatever follows I am comes looking for you. Whatever follows I am will come find you. So I don't really like to say I am blah, 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 right? Not in any serious way. But Kim picked that up somehow in our conversations through her reading my energy. And she was just like, you don't have to worry. First of all, it's not going to happen where you're going to get stuck in your story, because it's not your personality. It's not your makeup. But also, if you are worried, you don't have to even name the thing. And if you are going to name it, you do not have to claim the thing. Meaning, you want to acknowledge it, but you really just have to feel it. So you can say, there's anger here. There's sadness here. There's betrayal here. There's regret here. There's shame here. You can just acknowledge that you feel the feeling. She said, it's as simple as that. And again, at first I was just like, I've been feeling the feeling. I've been doing spiritual work. I'm in this. I am that. Kim was like, you've been doing everything else but feeling the feeling. She said, it might as well be swept under your bed. Paraphrasing. I'm paraphrasing. But pretty much she said, you're spiritually bypassing. I can't remember if she used that word, but that's essentially what I was doing. I was using spirituality to bypass my feelings. When I felt something, I was like, ooh, let me go chant about this. Let me go. I was mostly trying to get rid of it, right? As quickly as I can, whether it was listening to an Abraham Hicks thing, which always made me feel good. I love Abraham, one of the greatest teachers ever. Abraham and Eckhart Tolle, I can say, changed my life at times when it felt like scary. They are two pivotal teachers for me, Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks, and the work of Abraham and Eckhart Tolle. But Kim was just like, you've been doing everything else but feeling the feelings. And I just thought, and I realized, I've just been using these tools. In my mind, I don't know why. I thought that I was feeling the feelings because, okay, I know what I'm feeling. Now let me use this tool to, I don't know what I was doing, but Kim made it very crystal clear that I was not actually processing the feelings. So I was just, I couldn't wrap my head around what that meant. It's funny now that, because I'm such a feeling person. If you know me, everything is emotional. I see with my feelings. I work with my feelings. I'm an intuitive marketer. I run my business off of my feelings. I work with clients off of my intuition. So to me, feelings, emotions, they're all the same thing. Feeling is feeling is feeling. So to me, you can't tell me nothing about me not feeling. And I'm a Cancer on top of that, astrologically, as you know, my horoscope. So I'm just like, what? I feel all the time. What are you talking about? I cry easily. I'm the first one to laugh. I'm the first one to cry. To me, you cannot tell me I don't feel. But she was like, okay, you can say everything you're saying, but I'm telling you, you need to feel. You haven't processed these emotions. And what's happening with you now is the universe was trying to give you signs and you did not listen. So it's like, okay, I had to hit you over the head with a 2x4. And lay you down on your back. Lay you down to the point where all you can do is sit still, because then what? You can't help but feel your feelings. You have nowhere else to go. This is what Kim said to me. I'm probably paraphrasing, but it's pretty much accurate what she said, right? And this is 2019, and I just couldn't understand it. So she was just like, just feel the feelings. And again, don't name it if you don't want to. And if you do have to name it, just say, there's anger here. Just acknowledge what it is that it feels like. So I had no concept what she meant. It's weird to me now that I didn't understand what she meant because it seems so logical. But that lets you know how disconnected I really was from feeling, because I really thought I felt all the time, fully all the time. I feel other people's emotions. I'm so sensitive. And, but I said, okay. So I didn't know, me, if you know me, I'm very studious. I like to research. I like to practice. If you tell me something to do, I like instructions. Give me instructions. I like it. I like instructions. I'm disciplined and I like to try new things. It was like a science project. So that night I said to myself, okay, I'm going to try to feel my feelings, see what she means. I literally didn't understand what she meant. So that night I'm listening. It was a Saturday night. I remember my partner and I, my boyfriend at the time, we lived together, and we were watching. I said, okay, I'm going to see. I had already made a commitment to myself. I'm going to see what she means. I was just going to be aware, right, of what feeling and feeling meant. And so that night, or it could have been a couple days later, but I felt like it was that night, I immediately understood what she meant, because him and I, my boyfriend and I, we were watching a Netflix show, and he likes to debate. It's actually a thing for him. He's one of my good friends now, but he literally enjoys debating. Doesn't matter how heated it gets. I think he was in the debate team in college. That's a thing for him. So it's nothing for him to just start a debate just because. And then for me, I have a lot of views. I stand for a lot of things. And, you're not going to really just get it. So whatever the case may be, it's easy for us to have differing opinions and debate, and it'd be perfectly fine for him. For me, though, it would annoy the heck out of me. So we sit and watch Netflix that night, and I felt immediately he made a comment. I feel like for me, it felt a little sexist, but if I'm remembering correctly, it was like, what? So it could have been sexist. Without him knowing, it was not bad intention, but that's how I interpreted it. I'm not saying that's what he meant, but that's how I interpreted it. So my response was to fire back, like stand up for women, whatever he was talking about in that moment, stand up for whatever it was we were watching, and give him my opinion. But instead of doing that, I decided to not say anything. And this is something that I would have normally had a lot of opinion about, right? Because I could tell him better than he knew, right? It was a subject that he wouldn't know, because you're not a woman, so you don't know, right? But I remember sitting, I was like, ooh, this must be what Kim meant. So I sat and I didn't respond. I let the feeling in me rise. And it was simple. It wasn't nothing, crazy. It wasn't like a gender war or this kind of thing. But it was enough to make me realize that a feeling was arising in me, and I was about to feel this feeling. And when I tell you, that was the hardest thing I ever did. I didn't realize how many times feelings come up, discomfort comes up, things that we feel like we have to address, things that we feel like we have to respond to, things that we feel like, what the F are you even saying? Or it doesn't matter whether it's good, bad, or different. I just sat there with that one feeling on that casual Saturday night, and I felt the feeling of me sitting with the feeling, which was simple. That was like training wheels. That was like, just see what this even means. That was the first time I identified a feeling about to come up. Instead of words coming out of my mouth, I just let the feeling sit there. It was the hardest thing I have ever done. One of the hardest things I've ever done when it comes to, I don't even know what that's called, just like holding something inside of you. And I let it, but I let it move. So I wasn't holding it like holding. So it didn't feel like I was holding back in terms of when you're afraid to speak up, because I'm never afraid to speak up, or something like that. So it wasn't a withholding. It was without opening my mouth and saying something, just noticing and monitoring the feeling that arose and let it have its way with me until it calmed down. That was the hardest thing I ever did. I couldn't believe it. I had to sit on my hands. Literally. He was next to me. I don't even know if he knows this story, but I had to sit on my physical hands. I don't know what that had to do with anything, but that's how hard it was for me to just feel the feeling. It was excruciating. I couldn't believe it. And then I finally understood what she meant by feeling the feeling. And in my head, I said, there's whatever here, anger, whatever I was feeling, upset, whatever I was feeling in that moment, I just let myself sit and process it, hold it. I imagined it moving, because she said, just imagine it. She said, you'd be surprised. It's not hard to process emotions. She was like, it's not this hard thing, meaning it doesn't take a long time. Not that it's not hard, but it doesn't take a long time. It's as simple as that. You keep doing that until you no longer have a response to that emotion. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done. Like, I feel like I was sweating. Like, I don't even know what happened in the movie we were watching, because I was so focused for the next however many minutes. It felt like it was forever. It was probably like 10 minutes. Maybe it was 5. It was hard. And that's what feeling the feeling meant. And I did that, and that was my little test to myself, because I didn't know what she meant. Like, what do you mean? I'm feeling all the time. I'm talking all the time. I'm exchanging all the time. I have a lot of energy, and I have a lot of passion, and I do business, and I make love, and I am love, and I love people, and they love me. So as far as I knew, I was feeling all the time. But when I really paid attention to that first, I was like, ooh, must be what she means. And that was just a test run. That had nothing to do with like my actual, well, probably did start with like trauma from childhood, but in that moment, it just had to do with that situation. Who knows where that feeling originally started? But man, I just thought to myself, if I have been going through my life, my whole life, and not feeling anything, because clearly I hadn't been, then I have not really been healing. And then that's when I finally understood that healing is feeling. After that, it just became a rapid healing journey towards wholeness, towards just being able to hold that part of you, right? And that's what I see. Healing is just wholeness, WHOLE. But it's also about holding yourself, HOLD. Just having the capacity to hold all of that, the shadow and the light. That would be the shadow part of me that I did not even know was there. Little darkness creeping up like in the corner, and until it dissipated. So that is what it means to feel the feeling. I hope this is helpful.